We are live. Can you believe it? Again, I want to comment on the room. Is that HQ? Is that where you make all the magic?
Yeah, this is our little rehearsal spot. And, I just figure it's got enough space down here. I'm away from Lisa in case she's baking or doing something with the next door neighbor kids. It's not a hassle. I can do anything I want to down here. We got a lot of isolation and insulation, so I can even crank that mother
Yeah.
and until I'll hear stomping on the floor. It's okay. That's just a little bit too loud.
It's just like when you're a kid rehearsing in your parents' basement or something like
Yeah, that's right.
that. Hey, so is any of that gear? I always wanted to ask you, like, do you ever do you ever keep any of your old gear from back in the day? Do you still have some old gems from,
Yeah.
your
Well, I got the messenger sitting in front of the flag up there.
there you go. There you go. Yeah.
The L5S setting next to the messenger down lower is the guitar. I went to the Gibson factory and I picked that guitar out, Todd, out of the slab of wood. He says, I want you to pick out the wood. We walk out into this warehouse and I went, what the hell is this? It's just
Wow.
like slabs of wood every place. So I went, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, that one. And that's the one I cut American Band with.
Wow. So what year was that you pulled that went down to the factory?
That was 73, I think it was.
And this would be like Kalamazoo?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. What year is the messenger?
67, I believe, or 8.
Wow. Did you buy that new?
Yeah, I bought it new from a guy that was a Sun Amp rep,
Wow.
and he said, "Mark, what do you think of this guitar?" He said, "It's got aluminum neck on it," and so I strapped it on it, but you let go of the neck and it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
Drops. But I bought it from him because it had that magic Jimi Hendrix fuzz tone built in,
Oh,
a little toggle switch on the back end, just below and to the right of that Bigsby. It's you flip that on and it's instant Hendrix. No matter where you're at on the state, you don't have to get back to your station to stomp it. I love that.
wow.
So I could, get into it any place. That the one on the floor with the racing stripes down below the messenger it's originally the body shape was a Mystic, a PV Mystic.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
But I went in and I said, this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to have little toggle switches instead of that 5-way.
Right.
I want little toggle switches. And that's why I got on the horn there. You got on, off, and out of phase with whichever other pickup you choose. So you can
Crazy.
make that thing sound really crazy.
Cool.
And the racing stripes are mine. And
Great.
and I went in and the electronics. I had electronic guts put in. I didn't want something passive. I wanted with something a little edge, a little more high ends. So I had them do all that. And I go into Hartley Peavy and I sit down. We're ready to, they're making this guitar for me. And I said,
Sure.
well, listen, it's obviously a cross design, cross between Peavy and Farner.
Sure.
And he says, yeah. And he says, I'll agree to that. So I said, so let's call it the Peener. He didn't like that idea.
That
But
sounds almost offensive. I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
that was the point.
Wow. So what about the amps? Have you ever kept any old amps and stuff like that?
Oh, we've got some of the old cabinets, the West cabinets, West amplifiers out of Flint, Michigan. That's what we use
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the days. But when we started flying every place, they couldn't take that
Yeah,
smash when
of
the
course.
gorillas drop it on from the plane to the tarmac, and the transformer goes through the circuit board, and
Oh.
chassis is like a sardine can.
Well, that's not good for anything. No,
Oh
I
my God, no. So then we just switched up, and I went to super heads, Fender
Right.
supers,
Okay.
and a friend of mine put resistors on that speaker out so that I could go right directly into the front end of a Bogan PA amp, a
Wow.
100-watt Bogan with
Yeah.
the 4 tubes. And I had him put attenuators on each one of those, and I would run 4 stack with each one. And that was, oh my God, that was shit. I ran D130s, 15-inch speakers. And
Wow.
yeah, that there's nothing you could ever get that tone out of. You
And
can't get it out of a 10, you can't get it out of a 12. There's no other way to get that tone, man. And that's what I've used all these years.
so back in those days, was the idea of miking amplifiers even a thing, or was everything just coming straight off the stage at full volume?
Well, it was, as you just said, it was off the stage at first, uh,
Right.
until they realized, the only thing we can do is try to get the vocals in there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's always the challenge, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But everything always seemed to work. And now I got, when I go, I do a fly date, I'm using like a deluxe for the
Sure.
high end. I
Okay.
come out of a Arian stereo chorus as a last box on my board.
Okay.
So I take one side to the deluxe and use that speaker in the deluxe for only the treble.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Everything else is dialed off,
Okay.
volume, treble, volume and treble. Then I use a Fender Twin amplifier
Okay.
and then an extension 15. I don't use the 12s that are in that Twin. I
Okay.
use the 15-inch, and usually it's a heart key or something, that'll do the bass end. And that's how I get my stage sound. And I'm telling you, when that starts to chorus between that real high and that real low, it is the most sexy, voluptuous chorus. It's giving you a massage. Oh shit. Oh yeah.
That's awesome to hear, because it's such a, from guitar player to guitar player to hear, like, when they found their magic and their sweet spot, and they kind of, I mean, it's always, everybody seems to always be sort of like massaging that as they go along. They find a new pedal they want to try, they find a new thing, but when you find your zone and you know what it is, it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Speaking of which, my secret weapon
Uh-huh. Oh, here we go. This is exciting.
right here is a Milo preamp.
Oh, okay.
It's got 112AX7. And then, dude, all I use it for is to bring my guitar to 100% modulation.
Wow.
And what it does to those pedals, the input hitting it that strong and good, it changes it from tinker toy to the real deal.
Yeah.
I kid you not. And
Man, that's like you're in the full lab. Like it's a professor's thing of finding all these different things to work together. Wow.
yeah, well, to preamp that guitar, to bring it up, to bring that to 100% on the front end of your pedals. If I do it here with that little tube amplifier, but on the road, I don't want to take that thing out because
No.
stuff happened to it. So I use one of those Rocktron Gold.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what that is. Yeah.
Use that for just to preamp that and bring it up. When you're trying to bring the gain up to get it the cleanest it can be, it's got to be low gain, because the more gain, you're more crunch. Yeah. But man, it's not as good as that, but it's almost as good.
Right. Right.
Just the tonal character, brother.
Yeah.
Know what. So that's what I do on live on the stage, and that goes in my Pelican case with my other stomp boxes.
I appreciate that you're still, in that world of, I mean, any, guitar player worth his salt generally, although I know quite a few guys living in this world of fractals and Kempers, and they're able to kind of like do quite a lot in that world that is getting more and more impressive as time goes by. But, you know, for those of us that have been doing it since we were kids, long before digital amplifiers, is always missing that thing of like, are you wearing in-ears on stage or do you just go straight
I
wedges?
haven't, I have not wore them for years. I tried them one year and it just bugged me that I was so out of touch with the audience because as you know, Todd, we rely on that to spur us on, to egg us on, to draw the best out of us, because that's
100%.
what we want to give them every time, you know. But I am getting to the point with my hearing
Right.
where I'm gonna have to, because sometimes just the SPL coming from the monitors uh
Right.
starts making my head do funny, make them I'm going, oh shit, what's going on? What's
It's
happening?
like ghosts are accompanying you. Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, I know because I always think of that because in your when you guys were first coming up, um, say, were you even how did anybody hear themselves sing? I watched the Beatles like, and I know that they could never hear anything. It was just you know, but then you're watching these three kids sing perfectly in harmony. It's inspiring and depressing at the same time. But I always look back at like old footage and I go, like the coolest thing is to get those guitar tones, it was literally just wind everything all the way up. And
Yep.
then like I'm like wondering how is Roger Daltrey hearing anything? You know, it's like how is he hearing or anybody hearing their voice above John
Yeah.
Entwistle and you know Jimmy Page and these guys and yourself? I mean, you're actually the singer and playing the guitar, so you're kind of competing with yourself in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, but I always stayed just off the center of
Right.
my stack.
Okay.
I would never stand in front of my stack. And when I set up now live, you know, doing these fly gigs, I'm
Hmm.
coming from stage left side. I'm shooting across the front of the
Okay.
stage. I'm not killing our front of house guy.
Right. That's important. Yeah.
That's real important.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting into my microphone. That's
Yeah.
another important factor. Because
Yeah.
every time, yeah, that was the bitch before. When you'd step out from in front of your microphone to go take a lead over here, man, it's like, oh my God, grab that microphone. Well, now they've got a little apparatus that goes on the plugs in the XLR, and then your mic cord plugs into that,
Okay.
and it's got an off and on. It's a little LED that emits, and it gets to the right distance, and then it'll turn the microphone on. When you back
Oh.
away from it, it turns it off.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's
Yeah,
actually pretty brilliant. So that way, when you're
yeah,
away, it's not picking up everything, basically.
yes, and you can dial it right down with a little mini screwdriver. Oh yeah, it's nice.
There you go. I mean, see, that's what I'm fascinated by. Like for a guy like yourself, who's literally probably seen the entire wave of. I mean, we're in the early days. I'm never quite sure how this worked when bands were touring before they even thought, well, let's put this in a hockey arena. You know, I mean, like I assumed it was all theaters and multiple nights in theaters. Was it
Right.
like that for you guys? I mean, did you witness the somebody decided we're going to take an entire PA system into a hockey arena or whatever?
Oh yes.
So prior to that, you guys just played in whatever were regular venues that would have been meant for plays and folk bands or something. And now all of a sudden these loud kids are in there.
Grandy Ballroom.
Ah, of course, yeah. Is
That's
that
the
where the MC5 recorded that album?
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, Zeppelin was there, The Who was there.
of course,
People don't realize how, but when that thing came down, man, a lot of people that used to frequent the place, and
of
I used to
course.
play there, it really hurt
I
because
bet. Yeah.
so many great memories. Dude, that's where I got turned on to the all they put this vegetable oil and food coloring on these projectors, and they got this
Right. Yeah.
light show going. They're shaking it, and the whole room's going, oh, oh.
And what's there now? A Whole Foods or something? I just well, it's depressing to imagine what's in its place.
Well, I don't think they put anything. They just tore it
Just
down.
tore it down. That's a shame, man, because anything like that should have been a heritage building of some sort to have some sort of
Sure, yeah, sure would have.
protection for that.
But it's not the way you and I want it now, Todd.
No.
I hate to break it to you.
The bad news. Oh no. But I'm happy to hear that your hearing is still. I mean, although it starts to affect one later on. I'm dealing, I know guys who are, in their 50s who are very, very challenged from just years of cymbals, that kind
Oh,
of stuff really messes with you. And even singers, Sebastian Bach once reached out to me and goes, "Hey man, where do you get those?" We were using these kind of like plexiglass things over the cymbals, just over the cymbal, because you can get the full fishbowl effect, the sneeze guard at like, at the salad bar. Yeah. Yeah. But we don't like that. But we got the cymbal one because singers are constantly like heading back to the drum kit, and it's just, and that can really mess with your hearing too. Yeah.
oh, buddy. Yes.
So I mean, for you guys at your volume, I know you guys were no joke. I mean, it must have sounded like aircraft landing every night on stage for 2 hours.
Well, I had my 4 active cabinets, but then
They were all
had,
active. They were all on.
yes, but then I had 12 other ones to the right of that. The dummies, they didn't even have speakers in them. They just they're black, they
Right.
look like the
Yeah.
set. So yeah, it was walls of amplifiers, but it took like 3 semi trucks and for all the stage and the amps. And then we started flying. We leased a DC-7, took out the seats from the front bulkhead to the rear bulkhead, and then back behind that, the 2 bands, Blood Rock and Grand Funk, we and our crew sat back in there. It was plenty of room, but we put
Wow.
17,000 pounds of PA and lights in that front section. Taking off from Oakland, California, man, coming home. This was the last night we did 59 cities in 62 days.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, and we're celebrating. And even though there's a little barrier between the equipment in front of the plane, those pilots had to have been getting the smell of this stuff because they were lighting branches of pot and blowing it out and putting it under your nose. And drink it. I mean, you can't imagine it. Oh my God, the tour is over. We're on our way home and we're climbing up over the mountains with this DC-7, and boom, the right engine, man, burst on fire. It was a fireball. They had to shut that thing down. We are already, pretty heavy.
Oh my God.
The pilot comes on. We all thought the silence that overcame that cabin. Ooh, I'm telling you, brother Todd, that was like everybody knew this was it.
Oh my
Because
God.
hear the prayers going up. But the pilot comes, we're going to have to turn around. We come in, and there's emergency vehicles on both sides of the runway. It's lined up, it's lit up. They're ready to foam it if we had to, but he still had his gear and he's coming in, but he didn't have the reverse thrust of those motors. And we went right off the end of the runway, dude. We went out into the cattails and shit. I'm telling you, it was. And then the plane comes to a stop. I grabbed the handle on that door. I was the first one to the door.
I bet.
The handle on that. And just as I throw the handle to the right like this, a foot came over my left shoulder, hit the door, kicked it open, and Jimmy Rundgren jumped out, Rutledge. He jumped out in the dark, just jumped out. There was no light down there. He just, wow. And we didn't have any flashlights up there to see, but thank God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was soft enough. He didn't break anything. And as soon as we found out he was good, we all jumped.
Wow. Wow. That's what's so fascinating to me, because you guys really would have been like in that early wave of actual touring bands where you're actually dragging around that much gear, as opposed to just showing up places. There's a built-in PA system. You're literally just set up your stage stuff, play, and leave. Then you're actually like talking about PA systems, your backline, guitars, and then a whole crew of people to man all that stuff. It's a heavy operation.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So let's go back, because I'm always fascinated with Detroit. I'm always fascinated with how much great music has come out of that city. And it's funny, I was just thinking the other day about how, like, in Birmingham, England, they always said like it's an industrial town, and Black Sabbath and all these things came out of there. And I thought, I wonder what the parallel is there with Detroit being, the Motor City and all those things. And what, it's really weird to go, you can't just go, this is a Detroit sound. In fact, with Motown, I guess you could make that claim, but the diversity of what's come out of Detroit over the years, you know what I mean? From every hard rock to hip hop to everything imaginable, really.
Motown.
And Motown especially, I think, is the big one, which I hear a lot of Motown in your music, you know what I mean? Like, it's like Motown played very loudly with big loud guitars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you guys had a groove, you still, you know, you still have a groove that's not just like some white boy hard rock thing. It's there's some funk in there, hence the name back in the day. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you attribute, can you attribute to Detroit's place in the rock and roll history that way? Music history.
The thing of it is, I know, firsthand, my mother and the whole family moved from Leachville, Arkansas when she
Right.
was 16 years old. And she was born in 1923 or 25, something in there. And um, they brought their instruments, the whole family. It was like Grandpa Cotton, Uncle Woody, Uncle Brian, all these people would come over. Every Sunday was a jam day. And it
Wow.
was either at our house or my Aunt Dorothy's house. And she had 6 kids. My ma had 6 kids, and everybody else brought their kids, and it was just a time, it was just,
Yeah.
and we would have Southern fried chicken and hockey puck dumplings or sloppy joes, guaranteed, one or the other.
Awesome.
But we ate like little kings. And this is long before the GMO bullshit. So we were eating,
Yeah, yeah.
we were eating real food.
Right.
Uh, and I was hearing all this real music. But I think that there was so many people that we had friends that moved up from Mississippi, had friends from Louisiana, from Georgia, North and South Carolina, had people, friends that would come over and people would jam too. I mean, it was like everybody that came from other states brought their instruments with them.
Yeah.
And the North met the South in
Right.
Flint, Michigan, and in Detroit, and in Pontiac, and all the little satellite cities, the ones that were supporting the auto factories.
Sure.
The families are still here, brother Todd, but
Yeah.
the factories, what happened? The people, they blame it on the people not supporting their country. And I said, well, I guess if that's it, there's an example at least. That's what happens. Look at Detroit. That's what happens when people don't support their own country.
Yep. Yeah.
And they've been convinced by, I don't know what,
Right.
To go another way.
Right. Right. Well,
You
the
know?
auto industry alone, I'm assuming that with whether it's overseas cars, Korean, Japanese, whatever, when they start undercutting what you guys were doing in Detroit, obviously, it really had a terrible effect on things. And it lasts to this day,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I heard in passing, there was somebody said if the people of the United States would only buy 10% of the automobiles that get purchased every year, if only 10% were US manufacturers, we could recover.
I know. It's a fascinating thing considering, like you say, it's like, there was a time where Detroit was a major player in every possible way.
Yeah. It's almost like the un-Americanization of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And coupled with what we have been witnessing in our society and around some of the cities in the
Sure.
country. But this is not the majority of the people. I know that the majority of the people want peace.
Yeah.
They don't want to burn shit down. They don't want to,
Yeah. I think most people just want to watch the game on Sunday and,
yeah.
yeah.
And like in Detroit and in Flint, black people, I had black friends that, and there was no, segregation shit.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't look at color. We just played music together. We sang
Yeah.
together, you know.
Well, it's funny how music really unifies people. I mean, in places like
Yeah.
Chicago and Detroit and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God it
Absolutely.
probably always will in its own way,
Yeah.
And like I
absolutely.
say, I hear that influence in your music, whether it's, and I believe it probably has to do with those, whether it's like a bluegrass oriented jam sessions in on the front porch with your Arkansas family, and then like then there's the Motown thing happening, and then the Beatles and rock and roll and Elvis and everything, and I can hear all that, you know, that stew
Oh,
that you guys made, and it's all there. I mean, when you first came up, were you? I would assume you were a guitar player. You were, and you just happened to sing. Was the guitar playing what got you into the gigs and whatnot?
well, I was a singer in school in
Okay,
the choir
okay,
before I was a guitar player. I
okay.
was, playing football and singing in the choir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, yeah.
But I had football injuries when I was 15 years old, and my mother knew how much I enjoyed hearing my name called out on the loudspeaker.
And that continues to this day.
Yes. Uh, so she got me 6 lessons and rented a K acoustic guitar so that I could start. And the guy gave me 3 lessons, and actually it was bird hunting season in Michigan, and ringneck pheasants were in season. October 20th is when it opened, and he went out and shot himself in the foot with a 12 gauge shotgun.
Oh no.
Seriously, calls my mother. I had, like I said, 3 lessons. I learned how to, trim your fingernails on your left hand and how to tune it, and then how
Sure.
to do 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 do.
Oh, he taught you that. Thank goodness you were like, most of us are learning like campfire, you know, Michael row the boat ashore. You're learning that. That'd be, I would love to have learned that right away.
But he told my mother, go, have Mark go up to the high school there. And my sister, who was 17 months older than me, and I'll never let her forget it, she was hanging out with guys in this band where they'd let her sit in and play drums on it and that. And she would sing background with them. And none of them really wanted to sing.
Oh,
So
okay.
he asked me if I could sing, and I got up and I did Johnny Be Good and Nadine and some of the songs that that I really liked.
Sure, yeah.
And we made a band. Uh, then finally, I got good enough one day to plug my guitar into the amplifier.
Okay.
I had a harmony guitar that my mother purchased with a matching amplifier with a big 8-inch speaker.
Wow. 8
It
inch.
was this big, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but my guitar cord would go back there, and it was just like around the handle and over the back of the amp
Okay.
until I was good enough to plug in the front. Then I was doing it. And what got me there was I at my Uncle Woody's house, and I said, man, I'm having the hardest time, because he's asking me, are you coming along with that guitar? I said, I'm having the hardest time playing and singing, because I'm playing this one rhythm and I know what the rhythm to it is. But then when I start to sing, my playing goes to shit. And it just like, what happens?
Right, right.
He says, well, sit down here because you came to the right place today. And he cured that day.
Huh.
He sat me down in the dining room at the chair, at the table, put a newspaper, a Flint Journal, upside down on the other side of the table. And he says, okay, now sit there and start reading just the big, the large print, the headlines, and
Okay.
in the large print, the headings of each one of these. Just go through that, turn the page, and I'm going to go in here. When you get done, come in and get me. So I go through that, and I'm getting pretty good at this. I'm like, this is not bad now. I'm like whipping through this shit, because
Right. Yeah.
first I had to go, let's see, I had to, say every letter, and I'm going, oh, but then I'm going, oh shit, yeah, this is good. Okay, I can do that. Uncle Woody hands me his Gibson, old J45, dude,
Ooh, nice.
and it sounded like golden notes, anyways.
I bet. Yeah, yeah.
I started doing Nadine, and I'm singing it, and I'm looking at my Uncle Woody, and I'm playing it, and I'm doing it. Oh, I'm doing it. I
That's
have
a
ever since then, brother.
I never I mean, that's such an interesting, because that's one of the most important things that I always tell people. It's like, it's one thing to be able to play. It's another thing to be able to sing. It's an entirely different thing to be able to sing and play. It's like splitting your mind. Like, this is the guitar, this is the voice. And because even as a bass player too, it's like, there's a lot of things, Sting, guys like that will be playing weird things. And I'll be like, how is he singing over top of that? But it's a real talent. But that's really interesting because it almost opens up a part of your brain by reading the paper upside down that kind of opened
Yeah.
up this door for you.
In actuality, it's not separating one half from the other, it's tying them together.
There you go. That's true.
That's
That's
it.
true.
That is
Yeah.
because in order to read upside down and backwards, you have to use both sides
That's true. That's true, actually. Yeah.
simultaneously. So that was the training, and I still do it. I mean, you're driving down the road, you're looking in the rear view mirror, there's some backwards words. I could see what it is, know what it is. I mean,
I'm not going to not be able to do that now. I'll be trying anyway. I'll be like, Mark Farner told me to read everything backwards and upside down. I'll be like solving all the world's problems after that. Yeah. It's funny to hear you say that because, as influential as you are as a guitar player and as a vocalist, to hear that went through a phase of like, not being like good enough to be heard in the PA system, or like, you had to wait till you were good enough to play with the other guys. And then meanwhile, the other guys, I assume, went on to jobs at the
yes.
Ford factory or something, and you became a working, living musician.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chevy stamp and frame. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, but I mean, like to hear that, even yourself you had to go through a bit of work at the dojo before you could learn to throw that punch. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's very interesting.
Well, I think, embracing that and knowing that, and you and I discussing that, people uh, get the idea. They can't just glamorize everything and aspire to that point of glamour, or that
Yeah, yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, we are all students,
That's
and
true. And you
yeah,
never stop being a student, do you? It's always
oh,
kind of yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best, outlook, or the to set yourself up to learn, and is to humble yourself. And people, from your just being a humble person, they want to share what they
Totally,
know about that instrument.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. So, how far are you living right now from where you grew up? The fact that you're still in Michigan, I think, is the fact that Hollywood never called, or whatever, to be like living in the hills, but you're still. How far are you from where you grew up?
Couple of 100 miles,
Okay, so you're
still in the lower peninsula,
right. Yeah.
yeah, but we're below the bridge that connects the upper and lower peninsula.
Okay.
So the Yoopers up there, they call us trolls because we're under the bridge.
That seems fitting. I think I would enjoy being called a troll. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So where does it go from there for you as far as like I would definitely want to touch on the new DVD, and we should probably do that now because before we get too lost in everything else, because I think it's really important. I just realized that you were giving a chunk of it to the veterans, which I think is amazing. That's really, really awesome.
Yeah, that's Mark Farner's American Band from Chile with Love. It's a live DVD with 16 performance tracks.
Yeah.
It has two bonus videos, one of which is available right now at markfarner.com for a free download of Rock and Roll Soul. It's taken from this concert performance, but it's shot in Chile, and you would swear to God it was shot in California, Carolina.
Sure.
Like you're here in the United States. It's just their love for American music, and them wanting to express that to me as an artist. This whole camera crew and the people that they got involved, the actors, the actresses, just all very humble people that want to embellish love. And so, besides all of the live performance and the bonus videos, there's 5 bonus tracks that
Wow.
never released before. So, all for $14.99. Such a
There you
deal.
go. That's amazing. Isn't it amazing the the South American, you cannot understate how amazing the South American audiences are, and their deep love for like you said, for westernized rock and roll is they know every word. They are just hanging on every word. They're the loudest. They sing the loudest. It's amazing. Chile is amazing for that.
Yes. And the fact that when you show up on that stage, to those people, you are who your songs say you are.
Sure.
No matter who it is.
Right.
It was those songs that got them. And some of the fans told me, brother, that they learned English so that they could understand what the song Heartbreaker, for instance,
Sure. Yeah.
that was the first song I ever wrote.
Wow.
And that I have been told that by several people of different nationalities that they
Sure.
learned how to speak English so they could understand the words, the lyrics to Heartbreaker. That's like music does cross the barrier.
It does. Yeah.
Our instruments, brother, can reach out and touch. It doesn't, it's in the blood.
It
That music
is.
in the blood. It's all red. It's all
Totally.
good. It crosses all those barriers. And that's, in my opinion, what it's supposed to be used for, is to,
Yeah.
make us
Again,
feel better, to tie us together.
exactly.
And
It unifies. It's that same thing. Rock and roll and music in general brings people together. Yeah.
absolutely.
Last time I was in Chile, I went down to see Ringo's All-Star Band,
Uh-huh.
and I thought to myself, just now, I thought, well, I remember you playing in Ringo's band. That must have been insane, dude. Like, I'm assuming you're like anybody. You watched them on Ed Sullivan, and that chain radicalized the entire world to pick up guitars and grow your hair and all that kind of stuff. So what was that like for you? I mean, playing with a Beatle.
Well, it was great because it gave me the opportunity to, um, when we were in Japan, they
Another
we
great
had,
rock and roll property, by the way.
oh yes,
Yeah,
we were in Tokyo. We just got there and we're setting up on the podium in this press conference, and there's a big long table up there.
sure.
Ringo's Ringo's sitting in the middle, and the band goes down both sides. It's kind of like the Last Supper, right?
Which
So
one were you?
way down to the right,
Okay, yeah.
and this little gal comes up, and she said, "I want to ask Mr. Farner a question." So I stand up, right?
Sure, yeah.
And she says, "I want to know, what is it like playing with Beetle?" And I say to her, "Well, let me tell you something, honey. Ringo puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like all us other guys up here.
Yeah.
Ringo stands up. He says, 'Thank you, brother.' And he comes over, me a big hug, you know, because I recognized him
Yeah,
for
of
being
course.
just one of us, brother.
Of course,
And
yeah.
that meant more to him than anything else that I've ever seen him. And I saw him a lot,
Yeah,
but just being recognized as being one of us, man,
totally.
that
Yeah.
that made it. And he is.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, yeah.
it's just all of the, hoopla and all of that. Back then, it was like, oh my God, these guys are anointed. It
Of
was like
course, yeah.
almost like an Elvis anointing. There was anointing on that boy,
Of
but
course.
it went crazy for him. Uh,
There's a
but
mythology that sort of it happens to you guys too. I mean, like it almost falls upon almost anybody who ever gets up in front of an audience. There's going to be some mythology put upon you. But yeah, the Beatles sort of carried a different flag altogether, didn't they? Who else
yeah,
was in the band with you that time?
uh, Entwistle.
Right. What was that like? Was he playing at a modest volume? No.
No, he wasn't. God bless his heart.
Yeah.
He couldn't hear if it was at a modest volume.
Oh
He
yeah.
could not hear it. He was deafer than a post.
Now he had done that to himself, I assume.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Standing in front of his cabinet, but he was still playing. And he asked me, Mark, he said, "I'm hearing something. It's very compelling. I want to play it some harmonics on Closer to Home in that,
Oh.
when you're saying I'm getting closer to my home." He said, "Could I just try it out?" I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, I'd like to hear what that sounds like."
Yeah, you like to hear John Entwistle's input on your song. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. and he was killing it. I mean, definitely a good player, had it
Yeah.
all the way, through, but
Yeah.
very loud. And we had Billy Preston over there, and
Wow.
Preston, a virtuoso,
Of course. Yeah.
a great entertainer. We had Randy Bachman
Oh,
from
that's right.
BT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Rivera was our guy, sax and guitar and background vocals. Of course, Zach Starkey,
Oh, yeah.
Felix Cavalieri.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was a good band.
That'd be a fun set list because you get to play little bits of everybody's stuff,
Yeah,
including Ringo's stuff as well. But yeah,
yeah,
you get to play some Who, probably. You get to play some, uh, right, all that stuff. And then Zach goes on to be in the Who. Zach grew up to be the drummer for the Who, so who knew that? He's
yeah.
great. He's really
Oh,
great.
he
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
yeah.
playing with a metronome.
Right. I bet. I bet. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's really cool to see that. I mean, that you've been. I mean, you kind of rub shoulders with those guys the whole time. Your time was right around the same time as all those guys doing their thing too. So I would imagine. What do you think it is about your place in pop culture with your references on The Simpsons and you being Homer Simpson's favorite band of all time? Your name dropped personally on a Simpsons program. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just kind of like, I can't imagine what that must be like to be like watching TV and go, he just said my name,
well, dude, first time I saw that, we were at Pine Knob down by Detroit, so outside amphitheater, and they dropped the screen down and ran this thing, and I'm standing back there going, "Are you shitting me?"
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Uh, I mean, and then I had to go on and play, so I had to like come back here, come here. All right, now I got to go play music.
Yeah, I know. It's got to just take you out of the game. I remember watching The Simpsons one night because it was an ongoing thing that he was a huge Grand Funk fan, Homer Simpson. And there's an episode where the Who are playing in Springfield, and it's like Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend. I'm not sure if John was still alive. Yeah, it probably was his voice as well. But I remember Homer Simpson handing Roger Daltrey his list of requests for them to play, and Roger Daltrey in his voice goes, "Homer, most of these are Grand Funk Railroad songs." He goes, and I love the fact that you're the Who with this giant catalog of music, but I want to hear you play these classic American songs. It's just,
Well, that's befitting. And I love that. I didn't know that until you just went through that storyline, brother. But
yeah,
it is befitting because there isn't any rock and roll without America.
that's true.
This is the birthplace.
It is.
And imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, brother.
It is, isn't it?
So, and as much as I love, the Beatles and all the English music and,
Sure.
Australian brothers and
Mhm.
I'm thankful I don't have to fake the accent.
Right, right. But it is interesting, and it's an interesting conversation because I've often thought how bizarre it was that a bunch of English kids found these old blues records that were largely sort of underground over here, Muddy Waters, uh, Howlin' Wolf, all these kind of records, and then Mick and all those guys over there, and all these blues bands started to pop up in but skinny English white kids playing black blues, which
Uh,
sort of it's a weird ping-ponging effect from America to England and then back. And I'm from one of those guys. It's like, as long as it's inspiring kids to pick up guitars and
yeah,
and make rock and roll, it doesn't
yeah,
matter to me. Yeah, great stuff has come out of Australia. Great stuff has come out of
sure is,
Germany. Yeah,
sure is. And I got great musician friends, uh, but I also thank them, you know, that I don't have to sing in the King's English when I go to
right,
London. And we
right,
played Hyde Park. There was 65,000 people, a free concert,
right,
and
right.
Pie opened for us. Uh,
Wow,
It was smashing, man.
that's
I
crazy.
found out too late, but I did find out how long and just exactly how far that coil cord that I had plugged into my amp,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
far it would stretch. I went right off the front of the stage, brother. The dude that did the lights had put dance wax on the stage. Unbeknownst to me, I come running out. I'm on my knees sliding and I'm going, oh shit, oh shit. I'm, and I was right down in front of all these bikers that were up front, and I just kept playing, dude. I'm going, and they're going, yeah.
Who puts dance wax on a stage for a rock band?
Steve Graff.
Oh my God. You're like you didn't kill yourself.
He's a good boy. He was trying to, he loved to see me move, and he thought he needs some dance wax. Oh my, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So how does it for you as a guitar player? Because I often think about this in power trios, as we so lovingly call them. One of my favorite things is when I listen to old recordings and the guitar player goes for a solo, Hendrix, The Who, Led Zeppelin, anybody in a sort of like no non-rhythm guitar or keyboard band, when the guitar player goes to the solo, it just kind of has this sort of space that opens up. So,
Yeah.
but I know you've played in multiple different ways, and even currently, you've played in the situation where it's just you and a bass player and a drummer, or having a keyboard player or another guitar to kind of cover it. How do you feel like, does it change your game as a guitar player when you've got someone backing you up in those frequencies?
Well, yes, to some degree, it does change your game. It changes your sound, gives you other things to think about.
Yeah.
But when we, uh, live on stage, when we're doing a three-piece, a song that was done, three-piece,
Yeah.
the keyboard player is not on the stage.
Oh, okay. So he's not just going to make up a
Just
part for himself.
he just walks over and takes takes a break.
Sure.
That's why it is my goal and
Right.
my effort to reproduce that record that they bought.
Yeah.
And I think the closest I can get, the better it's going to work.
Sure, sure. I appreciate that because there's a lot of guys who are like, I'm going to readdress this. I mean, the song that people like have grown up on and, made out with their first girlfriend in a car to and had all these life experiences. And I'm going to do a jazz version of that. And no one wants to hear that. It's like play the version, dude. Play the one that I remember. It's like,
Yeah,
so
dude.
I often see that happening. I'm like, I'm glad to hear you take it because we have to do like when I play with Slash, we play all of his old catalog and we're pretty serious about like, let's try and address it the way people are familiar with it. I don't want to do a reggae version of, whatever song. It's like no one wants to hear that.
Yeah. But when you nail it, man, and your parts are together and that record happens,
Yeah,
oh, you feel those waves of emotion
totally.
hitting you and loving you, man. That's
Totally. Yeah, because you forget, don't forget, but you have to keep in mind that people's connection to music is beyond just a good time. Sometimes it's, reminds them of, somebody they knew and all that kind of stuff. And it's can be a very emotional experience. I'm sure you've witnessed it many times.
absolutely, man. It's a mind massage.
Hey, that's an album title right there. So what do you got coming up? We'll cut you loose so we're not keeping you all day. But is the I know it's one of those wacky things that every time I end on, so what do you got coming up in a crazy time when no one has a crystal ball to know what the hell's going on? But do you have anything on the calendar maybe later in the year that you can even entertain?
Next week on the Huckabee Show, the
Oh,
23rd. This week coming up, the 23rd. We're on the Huckabee Show. I'm gonna
April
stay
23rd.
down. Yep, and I'm staying in Nashville for a couple of days to write with Mark Slaughter.
Oh, great. I love Mark. He's been on here.
Yeah,
He's the best. Yeah.
and then I got a gig, the band, Ohio. I think it's May 12th.
Oh, wow. Great.
And we're St. Augustine, Florida, with Blue Oyster Cult
Cool.
on the 21st.
Very
And we
cool.
got like 3 other gigs with them down in that area. And my manager, he told me, man, we're adding dates every week now. It's starting to open
Great.
up, and people are really hungry for some music. So
I know it's exciting to see, and I kind of predicted that eventually when the floodgates open, they're going to open. It's going to be like a free for all of like, if you're in, you know, Des Moines, you're going to be like Friday night and have 10 things. Which one do I go watch? It's like hopefully they'll go see it all. You know what I mean?
yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a time where our road crews and every musician and every other person, it's just been a tough time.
Well, I'd like to take this time to thank any of your listeners, watchers, who would be so led to go over and check out that DVD, because my wife Lisa and I are giving $3 from each one of the DVDs to Veterans Support Foundation. And Veterans Support Foundation helps our brothers and sisters who are returning home from war-torn countries to integrate back into our society, to advocate for them for in front of the Veterans Board, for
Sure.
to get what they are due coming to them by law and by their service, and to take care of our veterans who come home with no legs,
Yeah, I
with an
know.
arm missing. You know, uh, the the fake news won't give us any of that information. They don't want us aware of things like that. But together, the people have enough love for each other and kind consideration to do something for each other. And
Of
this is
course.
it. So Lisa and I take $3 from each one to give to Veteran Support Foundation. And if anybody knows of a veteran who needs help, or some veteran on the street that needs a place to, a house, a transitional home,
Sure.
uh, can I give the 800 number?
Absolutely. Please do.
All right, brother. I was hoping you'd say that.
Absolutely. I'll post it too.
800 882 1316. That's
Great.
800 882 1316.
Great. That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that's really an amazing thing in this day and age where, I mean, no one would blame you for saying, I'm selling DVDs. That's my money. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like the fact that you're earning a special place in heaven now, sir. That's what's going to happen to you. When I get there, it's going to be great to go to the Mark Farner concert. But we could probably jam up there. Yeah, exactly. I can't wait. Well, I'm very excited. Everybody should go out and pick up that DVD ASAP. And I'm very excited that you're going to be out there doing stuff. It's inspiring to me because I don't really have anything on the calendar. So I'm kind of like, I'm hoping that means that the phone will start ringing soon for stuff to kind of be happening in 2021 here.
Yeah, I'll agree with you for that, brother Kerns. I appreciate being with you today. God bless you, and God bless what you do.
You too, brother. When we get out to your neck of the woods, we'll have to, or maybe we'll even cross paths at gigs. That's always fun.
Yeah, man.
We'll break some bread.
And jam.
And jam. That's the important thing. Oh, man, that'd be an honor, bro. That would be an honor.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Big
Okay.
love. Big love. Pass some love on to Lisa for me, all right?
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, you too. Peace
Real
out.
soon, Todd.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.